In the quiet hills of rural Kentucky, where the mornings came slow and the air carried the scent of fresh pine and damp earth, lived a young woman named Emily Carter. She was 22, with freckles across her nose and hair the color of autumn leaves. Emily had grown up on her family's small farm, tending to chickens and helping her father fix old tractors. Life there was simple, predictable. The sun rose, the work got done, and evenings were spent on the porch, listening to crickets sing under a blanket of stars. But Emily dreamed of more. She wanted to serve her country, to prove she could stand tall like the soldiers in the stories her grandfather told from his time in Vietnam. So, one crisp fall day, she enlisted in the United States Army. She kissed her parents goodbye, packed a duffel bag with her few belongings, and headed to basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia. The bus ride was long, giving her plenty of time to stare out the window at the changing landscape, flat fields giving way to rolling hills dotted with military bases. At first, training felt like a new world. The barracks were plain, with rows of bunk beds and the constant echo of boots on concrete. Emily met others like her, young recruits from all over America, eager but nervous. Mornings started with reveille at dawn, the bugle's call pulling them from sleep. They ran miles in the humid air, sweat soaking their uniforms, and learned to disassemble rifles with quick, precise hands. Emily excelled in some areas. She was steady under pressure, her farm-raised patience helping her endure the long drills. But when it came to sniper school, a specialized program she fought to join, things changed. Sniper training was grueling. It demanded not just skill, but an almost unnatural calm. Instructors pushed recruits to their limits, teaching them to lie motionless for hours in the underbrush, calculating wind speed, distance, and bullet drop. Sergeant Harlan Miller was in charge. He was a tall man from Texas, with a voice like gravel and eyes that missed nothing. From day one, he singled out Emily Carter. He'd bark during range practice, "You shoot like you are aiming at clouds." Worthless effort. The other recruits, mostly mean, snickered behind their hands. Emily's cheeks burned, but she bit her lip and tried again. Her shots often missed the mark by inches. The rifle felt heavy in her arms, the scope blurring under her anxious gaze. Day after day, the taunts continued. "They let girls in here now? Must be desperate," one instructor muttered. Sergeant Miller nodded along. "Carter, you're wasting ammo. Worthless in the field. Go back to knitting or whatever you do." Emily lay in her bunk at night, staring at the ceiling, tears stinging her eyes. She thought of home, of her mother's gentle hugs and her father's quiet pride. Why couldn't she get it right? She practiced alone when she could, breathing slow, imagining the target as a simple fence post on the farm. But doubt crept in like fog over the training grounds. The problem was relatable, familiar to anyone who'd ever felt out of place. Emily wasn't clumsy or weak, she was just different. The men bonded over rough jokes and shared bravado, but she kept to herself, her soft-spoken nature seen as a flaw. Instructors drilled into them that snipers needed ice in their veins, no emotion, no hesitation. Emily felt too much. She worried about the lives behind the targets, even in simulation. "You're too soft, Carter," Sergeant Miller said one rainy afternoon, as mud caked their boots. "Worthless if you can't pull the trigger without thinking." Weeks turned into months. Emily improved a little, her groupings tightened, her breath control steadied, but the label stuck. "Worthless," they'd whisper in the mess hall. It wore her down, like water eroding stone. She wrote letters home, keeping the hurt hidden. "Training's tough, but I'm hanging in," she'd say. Inside, she questioned everything. Was she cut out for this? The army was supposed to build her up, but it felt like it was tearing her apart. Then came the deployment. The unit was sent to a fictional conflict in Eastern Europe, a proxy war between American forces and a rogue militia backed by shadowy allies. The landscape was stark, jagged mountains, dense forests, and villages scarred by shelling. Emily's platoon arrived in the dead of winter, snow blanketing the ground like a silent shroud. Their mission was reconnaissance, scouting enemy positions from hidden outposts. One night, during a patrol, everything shifted. The air was crisp, biting cold, with stars piercing the black sky. Emily moved with her team through the trees, her breath forming clouds. Suddenly, gunfire erupted. In ambush, bullets whizzed past, splintering bark. Chaos reigned, shouts, explosions, Emily dove behind a fallen log, heart pounding. She fired back, but in the confusion, she got separated. Hours later, disoriented and alone, she stumbled into enemy territory. Rough hands grabbed her, blindfolded her. She was dragged to a hidden camp, deep in the woods. The enemy, a group called the Shadow Legion, were hardened fighters, survivors of endless skirmishes. They interrogated her, but Emily stayed silent, reciting her name, rank, and serial number like she'd been taught. Days blurred in captivity. The camp was makeshift, tents huddled around fires, the smell of stew and gun oil hanging heavy. Emily expected torture, but it didn't come. Instead, their leader, a man named Victor, a former soldier with a scarred face and weary eyes, spoke to her calmly. "Why fight for them?" he asked in accented English. "They send you to die in our land." He shared stories of his people, displaced by the war, fighting for their homes. At first, Emily resisted, but isolation gnawed at her. She thought of the taunts back in training, the word worthless echoing in her mind. Victor noticed her watching their snipers train a patient, methodical. One evening, he handed her a rifle. "Show me," he said simply. "No judgment, just curiosity." Emily hesitated, then took it. Lying prone on the frozen ground, she sighted a distant target, a rusted can on a stump. She breathed slow, felt the wind on her cheek. The shot rang out, true and clean. Victor nodded. "You have skill." They didn't see it. The gentle twist unfolded like dawn breaking. Emily didn't defect in a rush of anger. It was gradual, born of quiet conversations around campfires. She learned the Legion weren't monsters, they were families, farmers like her, pushed to extremes. Victor taught her their ways, reading the land, using shadows as allies. No one called her worthless. Instead, they valued her steady hand, her patience honed on the farm. Weeks passed. Emily chose to stay, not out of betrayal, but a deeper sense of purpose. She became their eyes in the hills, a ghost with a scope. Her first mission was reconnaissance, spotting American patrols from afar. But word spread. "There's a sniper out there," her former comrades whispered. "Hits like lightning, vanishes like smoke." Emily's reputation grew. She targeted vehicles, communications and not lives when she could avoid it. But in the heat of battle, choices hardened. One day, from a ridge overlooking a valley, she spotted Sergeant Miller's unit advancing. Her finger hovered on the trigger. Memories flooded, the taunts, the doubt. But she aimed high, shattering a radio tower instead. Chaos ensued, but no one died. The enemy, now her former alias, feared her most. They called her the Whisper, for the soft sigh of her bullets through the air. Patrols halted, morale dipped. Emily felt the weight of it all, lying awake under the stars, questioning her path. Was this revenge or survival? Months into her new life, a pivotal moment came. The war shifted, peace talks loomed. Emily volunteered for a risky op, infiltrating an American outpost to steal intel that could end the fighting faster. Disguised, she slipped through the lines, heart racing. Inside, she overheard soldiers talking. "That sniper. She's one of ours. Carter," they say. She turned. In the shadows, she faced Sergeant Miller. He recognized her, rifle raised. "Traitor," he growled. But Emily spoke, voice steady. "You called me worthless, but I found my worth here." Miller hesitated, eyes widening. In that pause, Emily disarmed him, not with force, but words. "This war is wrong for everyone. Help me end it." The satisfying end came not in glory, but quiet resolution. Miller, moved by her calm conviction, aided her escape with the documents. Back with the Legion, the intel led to a ceasefire. Emily didn't return home a hero or villain. She bridged the divide. In time, she went back to Kentucky, the farm waiting like an old friend. Years later, under the same porch stars, Emily sat with her family. The war was a memory, faded like an old scar. She wasn't worthless as she was whole, forged in fire, valued for who she was. And in the gentle night breeze, she found peace.